So you all should have seen that we are now. Okay, welcome everyone. Salam alaikum. This is Dr. Denise Berthy. Many of you know me. I am the Executive Director of Peaceful Families Project, and we are so excited this evening to have the first presidential uh, address from Sister Bonita McGee, who is our new executive, or she's the new president of the Executive Operational Board. I want to say first, welcome to all of you who are here. We are very glad to share this exciting new adventure in the PFP world with you. We first, of course, want to thank who is not in the room, but we want to thank our outgoing president, Lena Hashim, who has done so much work over a span of, I believe, 7 years, 8 years, to really hold the board together through transitions, through all sorts of things. So we are deeply embedded and deeply grateful, indebted to her for all of the work that she has done. We also want to talk about the amazing sort of blooming of PFP in the past, 5 years or so, really moving into a national organization. We now have about 50 trainers across the country. We have close to 40 Muslim male leaders in our Peaceful Partners program. We have 5 new program areas. We are very excited for all of the new and exciting changes coming to PFP, with many of you involved including the introduction in next month, in April, exactly next month and a day, in April, looking at the updated 2023 Muslim intimate partner violence survey. So we are very excited about everything that is happening. We are grateful to welcome Sister Bonita McGee with all of her years of experience in leadership, in domestic violence, in community change, in public health, to lead our team to really move to that next level. So without further ado, I am going to pass it to Sister Bonita so you can hear all of her ideas, and then we'll open it for questions so that you all have a chance to get your opinions and thoughts heard.
Well, thank you so very much, Denise, for that intro. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am so excited to be here today. I wanted to do a few things. I wanted to first give you a little bit about my history and my relationship to Peaceful Families Project, and then I'll talk a little bit about what Peaceful Family Project does in case you are new to Peaceful Families, and then talk a little bit about what I would hope to or strive to accomplish as the new board president, and then invite you all to partner us with along our journey together. So let's start with the fun stuff. Fun stuff, well, it's all fun, but the fun stuff is I started doing this work. I'm dating myself, before Facebook. I started this work in the late 1990s. Yes, that was a thing. And I would say that I started with the purpose of helping those who had little voice and resources or agency. It was on a college campus, and I was doing sexual assault awareness work and domestic violence work. It was when there that I realized, though, however, that even amongst that, um, population of people, that the Muslim voice and the Muslim resources were even less than those who I was working toward. And so I felt compelled to try to do something about it in that local community in Columbus, Ohio, to begin addressing that. And one of the things that I observed is that Muslim survivors face numerous challenges, not just within Muslim communities, but also as they engage in other faith and secular agencies and organizations. And so it was just the need was extremely large, and I built a little tribe of advocates to do that. Now, fast forward a few years, and I was asked to do their first national conference on domestic violence. And it was through this engagement with ISNA and doing this conference on domestic violence that I met Sharifa Al-Khatib. And Sharifa Al-Khatib was a force of nature. May Allah be pleased with her. And she walked into a room, and you just presume that you're supposed to listen to her, and that's what's going to happen. And she had that force, that presence, and through her examples, through her wisdom and expertise, I learned a few things, not just about being an advocate in this work, but also about the organization she will eventually found, Peaceful Families. And one of them was her fearlessness. She just simply did not shrink, and truth to power in all facets of her work. Her work was focused on awareness and justice, and making sure that while we're doing this work, that we are about justice at the end of the day, and pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that lastly is that was her work was grounded in Quran and Islamic principles. Never strayed away from that. She operated in various aspects of the community. And so this exchange with Sister Sharifa and grew into the beginning years of collaboration with Peaceful Families. And that partnership continued and deepened through the work that Maha Al-Khatib and Sama Al-Bajadiri, through their leadership in stewarding Peaceful Families post Sharifa's passing. And so I stand here today with this immense sense of respect and pride that I have for PFP's work, and the impact of, decades long. This is a respect that's been sustained for decades. And so it's a great and huge honor for me to just be here today, humbled to be board president, and feels like almost serendipity to be accumulation of just all of the goodwill and good work that I've done with PFP over the years. So that's just a little bit about me, my tenure, my experience with PFP, and why I feel it's so important to contribute what I can to its mission. A few of the things that I wanted to talk about in terms of PFP is that over the years it's grown, and I am so proud to say that we are currently expanding the work and offerings of the Peaceful Families Project, and still focused on supporting survivors, but looking at the life cycle of events that happen in families. And so that goes for the Peaceful Partners, Peaceful Futures, where we're looking at youth, Peaceful World, Peaceful Parenting, Peaceful Partings. All of these things are either in existence or in the process of emerging as offerings that PFP has. And so one of the things that I hope to do as my tenure as board chair is to support the amazing work of the volunteers and staff led by our tenacious and amazing Denise Burton, Dr. Denise, in expanding this work that we're doing, because Peaceful Families is an organization that continues to survive, continues to be resilient in the face of a range of challenges. And one of my personal goals is to make sure that it continues to thrive. So we're going to not just survive, we're going to thrive. And to do that, we're going to expand the work that we do, expand the reach of who we touch, and make sure that we are looking at this issue of violence in the homes from a prevention perspective, a 360 perspective, right? And then creating the needs and curriculum and offerings necessary to support that in the community. I always wanted to say that, sometimes people don't understand what Peaceful Families is and does. Peaceful Families does not do direct service. What Peaceful Families does do, however, is threefold. One, we support the advocates who are doing the direct service. We support them through peer education. We support them through technical assistance. We support, we look at things from a systems level change. Secondly, we make sure that Muslim survivors and Muslim communities are represented at the highest levels of organization and government. So that means White House committees, we represented national, international coalitions, we represent. And the third component in which we support this work and the work building capacity in the community to address this issue is through data and through making sure that we are providing resources that are informed by data that help those advocates in your communities do the work that they do, to help organizations do the work in an informed and evidence-based way. So those are the three prongs about which Peaceful Families does this work. And one of the things that I hope to do and continue to support as the board chair is to make sure that each of those buckets are expanded in some way, are built in capacity in some way, and that we make sure that we are sustainable for the next 25 years of the work that we are doing today. So to that end, I wanted to just highlight a couple more things, some concrete things that I wanted to share as what I hope to accomplish as board chair. One, again, the expansion of our offerings, the increase of awareness. We have some campaigns that I think can be game changing in building awareness around in their names around this work, and we hope to continue to really expand that part of the work that we do. Again, data. We are the only organization that has that this level of data and this level of attention, continuous attention to data. It's not a one-off. It's not a fad. It's not a trend. It's what we do every day and what we're committed to doing for our existence is making sure that we are looking at our communities, that we are doing things in an evidence-based way or evidence-informed way. And then I want us to continue to be the thought leaders in this issue. You know, thought leadership is something that is critical. So what we produce out to the community not only serves the community, but serves the larger intimate partner violence, gender-based violence community. People listen to us, and our standing and stature among peers, Muslim, secular, and other faiths, is without reproach, and it will continue to be so under that. And then lastly, let's get to the brass tacks. We've got to get bigger. We need to expand our capacity in terms of board membership, in terms of volunteers. And I ask you as the board chair to please, if you are excited by anything that I said today, to please consider joining us in this journey. We need your support. We have amazing people that will guide you and support you. And we have amazing necessary work to do, and we need your support in doing that. So I'm excited for whatever future partnerships come from this. I'm excited to be here and to give my time, energy, duas, everything to what is Peaceful Families Project, because the legacy stands for itself, but it's really about making sure that we're fulfilling the mission for the next generation. And with that, I have no further things. I just want to say assalamu alaikum, and I'm excited to meet and engage all of you at some future point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sister Bonita. Always, always an inspiration. Do folks have questions or discussion that they would like to? You have this is your big chance. You're in the Oval Office of PFP with the president. What would you like to talk about? Sister Bonita, I will start out the questions. You mentioned our database, our research base, our data and evidence based practice. Why is that important in the field of domestic violence for Muslims right now?
So data is something that is critical because it helps us understand more about our work and how our work is impacting our end user. And so the reason why it's critical is that oftentimes in Muslim communities, sometimes we mistake good intention for good practice. And that is not sufficient for the work that we do, especially in the fields of gender-based violence, family violence, because well-intentioned interventions may actually cause harm if they are not done from evidence, if they are not proven best practices, or even have the capacity to evaluate what you're doing so that you can establish good practice. It is critical for us to be able to speak definitively to not only within our community, but with the larger uh, uh, field of domestic violence to say we know what works in our community and we know how to do the work that we do effectively. So it impacts funding. It helps organizations who don't have the capacity to do this kind of research and data to be able to cite things in their grant applications. It helps emerging organizations that want to be allies get an idea of how to be more culturally competent in their work. So data is an extremely important aspect, I think, of the work, and one that is sometimes not underappreciated, but people don't realize how actually crucial it is. And data is made to be scary, and data doesn't have to be scary. Uh, Data just is data, and it's our job to engage it and understand it and learn from it.
Thank you so much. Another question that has come up is in this expansion of PFP from parenthood to all of these things, why do you think that having so many different programs is important as opposed to just focusing on training, just focusing on victims or survivors?
So the reality is, if we're looking at this from a 360 perspective, prevention, we have to do the link of prevention to intervention, right? How do we support advocates and organizations along each of those lines? Our initial offerings were very focused, as they needed to be, because the I don't want to sound like an old fogey, but back in my day, you couldn't even have the conversations you were having today around domestic violence. And I think that sometimes generationally we forget that. So it was necessary to focus where we needed to because the conversations weren't even happening. National organizations did not have programming on domestic violence. Now, you don't even think more about it. Of course, ISNA has a session on domestic violence. Of course, these organizations have these things now. And though it may not be at the level that we would want them to be, they exist and they are consistent enough that now we can say, okay, how do we begin to wrap around this family, wrap around this dynamic, and think about prevention and think about some of those life events that can be triggers or causes or a result of any form of violence in the home. So helping that parent to be a more effective parent is a preventative matter. Helping youth determine for themselves and understand what healthy relationships look like and how that needs to engage and how they can not only just think about their relationships, but think about communal safety. That's how you change things. So we need to really take a step back and open our aperture for lack, that's probably a poor analogy, but open our eyes a little bit wider and say, what are some of the other things that we can and need to address in order to get to the root causes? So it's a little bit of social determinants. It's a little bit of just common sense. And it's a little bit about if we're really trying to impact for the long term, we have to start looking at these other factors that Peaceful Families has expanded into. Because now that we can get pat ourselves on the back a little bit, it's still a long ways to go. But now that we have people at least somewhat engaged or not afraid of having certain conversations, we can begin to have other conversations that support that.
Go ahead, Sister Salma.
Assalamu alaikum. I forgot to unmute myself. I'm super excited to have your leadership, Benita. And maybe you already started to answer this question in terms of, my question is, since you've been involved in the work for so long, what are you seeing as the positive impact of not only PFP's work, but, domestic violence advocates, in the past 2, 3 decades? So you already mentioned that the conversation didn't used to even exist, and now that's existing. What are some of the other sort of positive impacts you're seeing of the work?
I think one of the things that I've seen, and it ebbs and flows, but I think overall, I think that there's been a real push, and I think this happened initially under you and Maha's leadership. I'll just use that easy word, and bringing collaborative leadership and really trying to model collaborative leadership. I think that there was a time where advocates were all over the place, and we began to find those little connections to collaborative come together. And that's how Manatee began, right? Manatee is the manifestation of the collaborative leadership expectations we had for this work. And it continues to exist. So I think that was a positive thing. I think some of the products that have been presented and created for the community has been a positive. Some of them need updating, some of them need a refresh, but they existed and they didn't exist before. And advocates starting this work today is heads and shoulders above what someone even started doing this work, even as long as 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where things just didn't exist. So I think we've been able to create materials and products and examples of collaborative leadership. Our challenge now is to either sustain or reinvigorate that collaborative leadership in the field. And I think also we have to be aware of the real threat that some of the organizations that were around 10 or 15 years ago do not exist anymore. So our voice, it becomes even more critical for us to exist. One of my favorite things when I talk to organizations, like, existence is not, it's not sufficient. Well, sometimes when you're under threat and the work that you're doing is under threat as organizations fade away, existence is the very thing that you have to make sure you keep doing. So, we need to exist. And I think we need to revisit some of those elements of collaborative leadership, and PFP being in a position to be that convener, that collective impact type of framework where we're the backbone and we begin to just connect and support and do that. So I think the previous examples of collaborative leadership, I think the work that was produced was extremely positive and has an impact. And I think we continue in that tradition. The first survey that was done has had numerous impacts. And our role now is looking back and moving all the elements that are still necessary and relevant forward as we expand. So I think we ended up giving ourselves a pretty solid foundation. And I think that we can continue to build upon that, which is a nice place, it's a nice position to be. Again, I think we're not 100% where we thought we would be in 15 years, 20 years, but I think that we've given ourselves a good stepping stone to begin to continue this work. Did I answer your question? Oh, I just started rambling at a point, so.
Excellent. Wonderful. So there is a question from the chat, which says, are there any initiatives or collaborations that you're specifically looking forward to growing with PFP, inshallah?
So one of the things that I have in my own little personal to-dos that I'm looking forward to re-engaging and renewing some old partnerships, dusting off some things, and making sure that people remember who we are. I think for some in the community, they're just like, oh yeah, like. But I think we really need to think about how do we begin that stewardship, that stakeholder stewardship, And this is not just within the community. It's with state actors. It's with national actors, people that knew us in very different capacities. So one of my, behind the scenes is really making sure that I'm re-engaging and renewing certain types of relationships that PFP has or had, and helping to strengthen that. I think one of the things in terms of what's being offered recently, what's coming out, I'm excited about everything. I'm excited about the youth. I think the youth, um, the Peaceful Futures, I think is just has a lot of so much potential. You just get excited just talking about it. I'm also excited for our peaceful partners or male allies. And the fun thing about it is that the male allies are all about it. It warms the heart to see that these male allies, that they get it and that they are trying, and when they don't get it, they still kind of try. So it's a good thing to see. So I think our current, and maybe recency bias, but I think our current offerings that we're working on is really exciting for us.
Beautiful. Can you do a pitch for us for new board members? What would new board members have to look forward to? What is the benefits of being a board member? We're going to give you a minute to do a recruitment so that you can build your court.
It's a lot of hard work. No, it's gonna be at all. So it's being on the board of Peaceful Families. What I love, if you're a person who loves to have their input in on the ground floor of things, roll up your sleeves, um, have some fun, engage with really intelligent, really passionate people, then being on the Peaceful Families board is for you. We have work to do. We are transitioning from being one type of board to another. It takes work, but we are dedicated to it. And the work that you do, it's rare that the work you do day to day on things have an impact or literally can save someone's life. And the work that we do just has that impact. Like every time we do something that moves the ball forward, we've expanded the voice of Muslims somewhere in this country. We've emboldened an advocate to be brave enough to go do the thing. We've helped organizations do more. And that's the kind of work that if that gets you excited, then come join us. And I will say that, it's not just, me and my stewardship, but also like you get to work with really great people. And yeah, I think being on the board right now may seem a little intimidating for folks, but it'll be the best, whatever time you give us, it'll be the best time of your life to do this work and to build something and to be a part of a legacy. That is not a legacy that we're touting because organizations always talk about legacy. Our legacy is built and earned, and go anywhere in the DV field and you will hear our name. And that's without prompting, that's without, anything else, because we've earned this legacy and can be a part of that, can be a part of building and sustaining that for your community. Was that good enough, Denise?
That was amazing. And we are recording this, so you will see that clip as we move forward. Do folks have any other questions or comments? I do want to take the opportunity because I see our current and I don't want to even say stepping down, our dancing down board president, Sister Lena, on, and I know she hates public stuff.
So before you ask her, before you let her
I'm not going to
speak,
ask her. I'm just going to talk.
okay.
She doesn't have to answer. I want to take this opportunity really and truly to offer our deepest appreciation for the leadership of Sister Lena during very drastic kinds of changes during COVID, during a change of executive director, during the influx of 35 new trainers. Sister Lena's everyday presence, her persistence, her strength and leadership really got us to the point where we are today, and we would literally not be here. As Sister Bonita said, if you look around, the historical organizations did not all make it. The reason that PFP made it was really the leadership of Sister Lena, and we are so grateful to have had her. Also, we are very grateful that she's not going very far, so she's just sliding down into a regular board position for now, but we are really and truly grateful. Really, we would not be here if it was not for her leadership. So thank you, Sister Lena, who may not want to say anything after that, but know that you are greatly loved and appreciated.
I would. Oh,
Go ahead, Yella.
can I add something? I just wanted to add something to pour it on while I have my opportunity to embarrass her further. Is that I want to say something about the leadership of Lena Hashim that has gone. It's one of those things that unless you've been in organizations a long time, you won't know how important or how in depth it is. And one of those things is we had actual succession planning for this transition of board leadership. And for anyone who's ever been in a nonprofit organization, a small nonprofit organization, or even any type of even company, succession planning is often touted but never done. And I will say that were it not for Lena's support and generosity and help in transitioning, it's one of the reasons why I'm so excited and I feel so prepared to begin to do the work that I'm doing because of her just graciousness and egolessness and support. And I think that has to be recognized. And if you join this board, we believe in succession planning. So there you go. Another point for joining the board.
Thank you so much, Sister Bonita, who is now on a path, I see, of recruitment. Any last words from folks? I do want to invite you all. We have some amazing events and committees that are open for your engagement out there. I mean, of course, joining the board, that is number one. At Peaceful Families, we'll be having 5 representatives at the Muslim Mental Health Conference in San Francisco tomorrow. Many of us are taking off, including Yumna, who is here. Yumna, who has worked with us as an intern, but has created one of the most powerful and important data sets in their names, and just has incredible talent for presenting that data in a way that really touches people's not only their heads but their hearts. So we are so excited about that. Sister Tahani Chaudhry, who is going to be presenting with 2 of our male allies around the male leadership, the Peaceful Partners program. She has taken that program really from two male allies, from 2 men that we knew when we kind of had no choice but to come, to now almost 40 consistent members with research, with an intervention, standby bystanders intervention program, our 2nd annual male allies gathering for the whole country. So I want to recognize those folks. Sister Shelley, I see as well, and Sister Zainab, who are working with us on the MSA outreach, that we will be sponsoring a cross-country Muslim advocate gathering in Virginia on July 13th. So if you have MSA contacts that might want to be involved, please send them to us. That committee is doing amazing work. And I also see a bunch of our research interns, right? So everything that we do, as Sister Bonita mentioned, is research based. We have not only in April the national sort of unveiling of the new 2022 Muslim IPV study. We have now work going, we have an active research project looking at Muslim men's beliefs, attitudes, and experiences with domestic violence. We will be working on, by the youth event, a youth survey, really looking at what does courtship coercion, what does violence premaritally look like for our young folks within our community. And then we are going to be working on peaceful partings, which is grief, divorce, and co-parenting, and gathering data around what are the experiences of Muslim families as they go through those transitions. So we are welcoming any of you who are interested in joining us in any of those, or if you have your own ideas and want to come to us with another set of programs, we are ready and to be responsive and listen within that. So we will finish up. I know we said by 6:45, but know that this is not the end. This is just a very exciting transition period, inshallah, into even more national representation and to meet our final, the mission of Peaceful Families, which is to, in the end, eliminate family-based violence within Muslim homes, not only in the United States, but globally. Thank you all for attending. Go with the blessings of Allah, for peace, for respite, as we prepare for our holiday season, and as we prepare to go forward and to work together.